Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to go over 5 things that you probably should stop doing, whether you're a beginner developer or someone who has experience. Number 1 is to stop giving files weird names. So you could have a file in a system A with perfectly reasonable name, which you call reasonable. It could have dash, it could have slashes, it could have anything, okay? And it works perfectly fine in one system. But when you migrate these files into a second system, which does not support those characters, or it automatically strips them, or it does some sort of cleanup with the file names, you're gonna have a mess, okay? So let's say you have A-B in system A, and you copy it to system B where dash is automatically stripped. And it does happen with a lot of systems where dash is automatically stripped. Now the reference that you had filed to the database is disconnected. In the database you still have A-B. Meanwhile the system has stripped the dash from the file. So now you do not have a match, and you can have many other problems if you're copying things across. They're not gonna, that link, that matching thing is not gonna happen anymore because it's not for like. System A has dash, system 2 doesn't have dash, it has space, right? So if you recopy that file to system B, the system is not gonna tell you you're overriding. The system is gonna think it's a new file, right? So keep that in mind. That's number 1. Number 2, a lot of people make this mistake. They think caching is going to make their site fast. Yes, that's true. But you need to understand what caching really is. What's the purpose, right? And where should you cache and where should you never cache, right? If you're seeing a report, if a user is seeing a report on the dashboard that's updated once every 5 days, yeah, maybe cache it. But if it's actually updated every 2 minutes and user is supposed to see that on live site on time, because they're looking at the report all the time, then you need to make sure you clear the cache, right? You cannot have an outdated version of the dashboard displaying to the user and then they're looking at the wrong things, they're making wrong decisions. So you got to be careful where you should cache, if you should cache at all, if caching is going to actually speed up your system, or if the problem is somewhere else, if the problem is with your server structure, or if the problem is with the database, or is the heavy queries, things like that. So if you don't need to cache, don't cache. But keep in mind when you should clear the cache, and when you should update the cache, and things like that. When you should totally just remove the cache altogether. Okay, so keep that in mind. The third one is to assume that things are successful if there is no error. So generally what we are used to seeing is if there is an error, yeah, there is a problem. But if there is no error, then things are successful. That's an assumption, right? If you're transferring something from place A to place B, it doesn't matter what it is. Just because the place B did not throw the error does not mean it's successful, right? Okay, now if you're speaking about a trusted system, right? A trusted API that returns 200, you assume that things have happened successfully. You don't need to do secondary or third checks. But if it's your own internal API that's built by your colleagues, just because it returns 200, do not assume that it has been successful, right? So there is always a room for additional checks many places, especially when you're working with critical systems. Okay. Fourth one is database related. We have this tendency, I don't know why and where this came from, but everyone wants to use a database. I have no idea why. Me personally, I use database when I need to use database, when it makes sense. A lot of the times, I simply use just text files, JSON file, XML files. That's all I do, because all I need to do is just read some information, rewrite it to the file. There's not too much relationships going on, and that's it. So I don't use database. Okay, so I'll use a text file. So if you don't need to use a database, don't use it. Okay. Fine. So, and lastly, stop this one is related to the server. Stop increasing your server capacity, RAM, CPU, how many cores it has and all that, just because your application is running slow. You cannot just up the RAM, up the memory each time something is slow, right? What you'll end up happening is a huge server, huge bill, because all you have to do is go in Amazon Web Services, click a link or click a button, and there you go. Your server is bigger in size now. You don't want to keep doing it. Okay, you've done it once. Now you think, okay, my server is a reasonable size. Okay, now the application is working fine. Then there is a bottleneck or something like that. It's slow at certain times. You automatically assume increasing the size of the server is gonna fix the problem. Yes, it might fix the problem temporarily, but next month, when the user load goes up, when the background service is increased or someone has added something else to the background service, there's more stuff in the queues and all that. Your server is gonna become slow again. What are you gonna do? You're gonna just increase the server size once again and then just get billed for more capacity. You cannot do that. What you have to do, obviously I'm not going to go into what you have to do, but generally you need to fix your application, right? Whoever wrote the application had some assumption about the application is going to serve 1,000 users per month. Now it's serving 100,000 users per month. Okay, you can't blame that person, but you have to go back to the application, fix the problem there, and if still doesn't fix, maybe you need to change the architecture a little bit. And if that doesn't do, maybe you can increase the server, whatever the server limits are. So those are the 5 things. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you're an experienced developer. Everyone makes these mistakes. I made these mistakes. I mean, I still make these mistakes time to time. So yeah, keep these things in mind. I think they're gonna help you a lot. Best of luck.